Okay, we've been experimenting with some settings with the Pimax Crystal Light, and this is uh, the Nvidia 5090 video card, and we've got our overclocked plus 2000 on the memory. It's got that fantastic memory. You can do that. Most memory you can't ever get anything like that. And then on the core, we got plus 300. It's just on the stock air cooled. It's a gigabyte. It's nothing fancy. And then oh, let's see. Yeah, that was all the settings for that. And then the CPU is a AMD 9950X3D. And show you what that looks like here. There you go. So you can see while the game's running in the, well, actually the game's not running in the background right now, but it usually stays around 5 gigahertz. We're recording, so it's staying pretty busy. Really fast hard drive. And then the GPU. A lot of times, if you're having trouble, go to processes, add right click and add this GPU and GPU engine, and then sort it by that, and you can see what's using it. This PVR home, a lot of times, for whatever reason, that seems to use a lot of usage. Sometimes you can end it and be fine without it. But anyway, so that's that. And then so I tried some 120 hertz settings and I got it to where it can pretty much stick to 120 if I wanted it to, but I have to lower the resolution so much to do that that it starts kind of negating what I'm going for. I want immersion, so I think you're better off at 90 hertz and locking it and hitting it consistently so you don't have that mismatch between frame rate and refresh panel rate. Because if you get those locked and they're always 90 frames coming at the panels and the panels are refreshing at 90, it's so smooth when you go around corners. And when I went to 120, although I can make it do it, sometimes it's 110, not 120, and it's like, you can see the mismatch. It induces stuttering, it breaks realism. So if you want ultra clarity, let's go for the 90 instead on the panels themselves. Now, if you have a lesser GPU, like something older, you could try like the 90 hertz upscale is actually pretty damn good. Now, my particular panels, there's a little corner in the top right that kind of looks goofy. Sometimes in rear view with like mirrors or with like menus and stuff, but it's still acceptable to me because most of the time when I'm just driving around, I don't see that. It's not a problem, but and it might just be my lenses or my headset. I don't know. Um, so then you also want to go into general, make sure on the Pimax Open XR and not Steam. And I had added some brightness, but I've decided that it kind of makes a square in the screen that's brighter than the rest. And so then you have this mismatch and that breaks immersion. So we're not going to do that anymore. And then if you really need some more frame rate, you're struggling, go down. You can go down to about 85 or less, but about 85 looks almost as good as 95 and 100 up close. Super distant stuff like sirens and stuff that are like 500 meters or 1,000 meters out, the text won't be as sharp. But up close, you can get away with 85 and it still look just about as damn good. So I'm going to put it up to 100 because this GPU can probably handle it. And a new setting that tremendously helps is narrow. I used to use the Oni Speed Crop View mod to make it look like a helmet view, so it was just rendering this area instead of all that. And that got the frame rate up about 40. Massive gain. So normally it was like 40 or 50 frames in full view. And then with the Oni Speed Crop, I could get it up to nearly the 90 I was looking for. Well, now they've added this narrow, and it's like a helmet view. It's basically because the Pimax is ultra wide anyway, compared to a lot of other headsets, or the older ones especially. So the narrow really helps. The frame rate went up for me about from 50 to 90 just doing that. And now I can do it. So I'm going to do the narrow so I feel like I got a race helmet on. That adds to immersion. We'll do 100% so it's super sharp, close, and far. that adds to immersion. And then we're going to go to GPU upscaling. We're going to use FSR. FSR is AMD's technology. There is a NIS. They're just different technology. You can try both, but I would probably start with a super resolution at 2, especially if you got your headset at 100%. If your headset resolution is like at 84%, like I was suggesting, you might have to do like 1.3 to 1.6 area, so it's not too blurry and it still gets a performance uptick. So right now we're going to let it do 2 and all the sharpness. That usually all the sharpness helps. It's edge sharpness that it's doing, and that helps. But certainly if you see the edges of the view look kind of funny around vehicles and stuff, like looks like somebody's outlined it with a crayon or something, that could be this setting, and you might just back it off a couple hairs and then it'll look fine. So we're going to confirm those settings. Give it a second to apply it. Yeah, looks like it did. So this is EVO specific. You'd have to do it for all your games. But yeah, these settings, 100% narrow, fully upscaled, fully sharpened. Quad views, it says FFR, fixed foveated rendering, is on. That's where it makes it sharp in the middle view and then blurry around, or different resolution, lower resolution around it. Not blurry, but lower resolution, and that saves pixel and processing time. I haven't noticed that working lately, so I don't know if in one of these newer updates it busted it. Because usually if I put it to performance, it was really apparent. It was like a circle, that you could see a big difference. And I think going to ultra and stuff probably makes that a little less apparent, but less performance uptick. So I've got it on performance. I don't notice anything. That's just where it is right now. And this priority rendering seemed to help a little bit before I tested it a long time ago. So you might experiment with turning that on. We've got our brightness back down to 0. Let's just apply everything one last time. And then we'll start the game back up. And I always close this stuff. I don't think it's a good idea to have stuff running behind your game in the background, because games kind of get confused, especially when menus are in a game and the mouse is trying to select something that's in game but on top of the game, and then you got some app in the background. You can induce some weird frame rate stuff where the GPU's just trying to figure out what it is you're wanting to see. All right, so now we're in here. Let's full screen this. You can see. So what I'm showing you guys here is the left. I believe it's the left. Yeah, this is the left panel. Because if I show you the whole monitor, you'll see the left and the right, and that's not going to work for you guys because you don't have a headset on. So this is basically the left panel, and it's zoomed in slightly to kind of focus in on the windshield area and not everything. All right, let's see if we can hop back in our server. We're on Red Bull Ring. We're in a Toyota Supra Mark IV. This would be like a mid-90s, early 90s. And this was what was it, a 3-liter 2JZ GTE? The 2JZ was damn near bulletproof. There was a lot of people that were just hang a big turbo in there, big exhaust, big intercooler, lots of fuel, lots of fire, and those things would make 1,000 horsepower and stay together. Damn good engine for the time, because originally this thing was like 280 PS. That's like 260 horsepower. So you could 4 times the horsepower on the thing. And I'm talking about to the wheels. 265 horsepower was at the engine. So actually to the wheels was probably like 220, 240. Another 15% loss. Alright, let's load our tune here. We'll do some laps. It might not capture the frame rate, but I'll call it out so you guys can. But it should say rock solid at 90 and look pretty damn good with these settings. So did I ever tune it? We don't have a tune up for this one, so we'll call this one 4111. So this is a tune I've been using on the Supra. I'm not using it as a drift Supra, even though that's its purpose. I'm actually trying to keep it on the road. So we're going to take the front camber and get rid of that. So front camber negative 1.5, and we're going to get rid of all the caster we can, so it's just 1, and we'll leave the tire pressure alone for now. Electronics, we need a little bit of traction control, all the boost. Fuel 25 liters, supercar tires, front anti-roll bar and rear 5,000, so they'll absorb roll. If you get the suspension to absorb shocks, that keeps the shocks from hitting the tires and knocking them loose. So, the bumps, we want to absorb all the bumps. We're going super soft at 2,000. We're going to rebound quickly, so more pressure. Same for the rear, absorb the bumps, respond to the tires coming off the ground. And on the arrow, we're just going to slam the car and let it transfer weight to the back. It's got a slight rake, meaning the rear is sitting lower than the front. And that transfer weight, put more weight on the rear, more weight on the tires, more traction. So we're just trying to keep this thing from sliding around like a drift car, even though that's what its original purpose was. And we'll save our changes to tune up 4111. Zoe's excited. She's in the remote chat. Just kind of training her up. She's going to be my remote AI assistant. We'll see if we can get her in the chat at some point, but right now she's very talkative, very excited. Can't get her to control her, so yeah, but maybe in time. Alright, let's see. If the display capture and everything working. Recording is still going. Yep. Alright, so and then the game settings, we have so this is the desktop resolution, and then you want to keep this, don't let your frame rate go, don't let your GPU try to display more frames than your monitor's got, or your monitor or your, in my case, VR headset can do. Because then your GPU usage is just going through the roof. You're creating heat, and that's making you slower. So lock her to 90. VSync helps in VR, I found. Okay, and then on the graphics, I'm doing custom. No upscaling in the game. 4 times anti-aliasing seems to be helping with the jagged edges. You can go lower if you need more frame rate, but you will see jaggies on the fences and things like that. And then AA all the way up, level of detail all the way up, vehicle level of detail all the way up. Max cars ahead. If your frame rate's dropping tremendously, especially at night with lights and shadows in the pit area, you could change this max cars ahead to like 5 or 10. And that way you just kind of rendering the cars that you're having a race with, not the ones that are a mile down the road costing you frame rate. I turn all this stuff on low for the lighting. Still looks wonderful. Reflections on low. You still have reflections. It looks good. Shadows very low. Screen space shadows, you want them on half resolution. If you go all the way low, that means the shadows in the car are baked. They don't move with the sun and you turn it. If you go full resolution, you're going to kill your frame rate. And then I like a little bit of grass density, not enough to kill frame rate, but enough it doesn't look like a golf course. Looks more realistic. Plus, whenever you're driving and you see little things whizzing by, your brain sees speed. In the post-processing section, I turn depth of field off. That's a blurring thing, like a bokeh thing. I don't think you need that. And then it could cost frame rate. Motion blur, same. If you want it to look more like Need for Speed and have a more sense of speed, some motion blur could probably help. Mirrors, I crank all that stuff all the way up because I want to. It breaks immersion if I'm driving it. It's nice and clear and sharp and fast refresh rate, and I look in the mirror and it's blurry and it's jagged and it's slow. That mismatch throws me off. So yeah, those are the settings that are working pretty good for me, and I tested them on like a 5070 Ti, and it worked pretty good at 90 with these settings. So give that a shot. Let's go full screen here. We'll go ahead and go into this race. Now this car is not a competitive race car. It is just for fun. Sounds amazing. And I'll just call out some frame rate while we're recording, so you guys can kind of get a sense of what it's doing without actually, because it may not show it on the screen if it does, unfortunately. So 75 frames here. This is the worst part because there's so many cars spinning around. Oh, I just got slammed there. How did they hit me? Alright, so let's go to the pit. 91 frames. And all that chaos. Back to pit lane. Yeah, somebody probably lagged out on the start of the race, so it went crazy. Alright, so in the pit, this is the worst area for frame rate because there's so many cars and so many character models and 3D stuff. And so here we're getting 90, which dips to 86, 89, but 90 for the most part. Get on the track in 20 seconds here. Yeah, the detail's pretty darn amazing. Super crisp, super sharp. And now because we got the refresh rate of the GPU and the refresh rate of the panels the same, and they're able to keep up with each other, there's no stuttering anymore. Yeah, 90 frames, CPU's at 36%, 66C, so it's just chilling. GPU's at 92%, way under 100, and that's why we're holding steady at 90 frames, because the GPU's not at 100% maxed out. GPU's at 67C, very close to the same as the CPU. It's about 20 gig of RAM being used on the GPU, 23 gig of system RAM. Alright, let's get in here. Now that's turned nighttime, so this is like the worst case scenario frame rate. Central view. I've got a sequential shifter here with me, so if you hear clicking, that's what you're hearing. This is the Moza R3 steering wheel. I've got a Fanatic CSL DD for sale. It's been great, but I like the R3 a little better. At 90 frames with lights right behind me. Frames, 82, 86, 90, 91, 90. Frame. 81 frames. 90. But most importantly, it's not stuttering. It's like earlier I was playing with the headset and the game trying to do 120. And when there was dips to the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you really noticed it. Because there's such a difference. And even with VSync on, it was causing more stuttering than I like. The game feels more responsive and smoother like this. But there's a 76, 79, but keep in mind I'm also recording and streaming. Most of you guys are probably not doing all of that in one single CPU, GPU combo, so some of these dips aren't normally there. lot of computer systems, the GPU shares the same bus. On the motherboard as the hard drive, so for recording and same with the hard drive, sometimes you can disrupt GPU if you have it in the wrong slot. Super boy. But he's like, what the fuck is a super doing beside a the BMW Medica? It's got some pretty good speed, it just doesn't handle it. It's a production car, and that's a GT3 race car. The Pinnacle. 91 frames. So yeah, that's a solid lot. Most of the time, 90 with some dips in the 70s and 80s. So if I were to fine tune my stuff a little more, maybe I would reduce the Pimax headset resolution from 100% to 95, and it probably look just about as good, and it'd probably get some of those dips in the 70s to be more dips in the mid 80s, and then you don't have anything noticeable at all. And that's just me being super picky about it and trying to make it perfect. And you guys might see these dips to 70s from 90 and not even see them, not notice them, or notice them and not care as much as I do. You know? Yeah, I think this will conclude the recording, but just a reminder that we have a Discord server, link will be in the bios, and I am streaming right now on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick simultaneously. Alright, smoke is over there. So, those of you that are watching this video at a later date, check out the streams. Come by and say hi if you have any questions. Give me a shout. I've been a computer systems engineer for 35 years. I've been Microsoft certified since 2002. As a systems admin, MCSE, MCP, CSA. So I've done architecture, design networks, and server farms. I've done it all. So if there's a technical issue you're having, I might be able to help. And I like helping, so in any case, all that to say, come hang out on our Discord, come hang out on our stream, and we'll see you guys in the next one. End the recording there. GG's. Alright, you guys watching the stream, I'm just going to stop the recording. We'll keep the stream going, keep the party going, get the music going.